5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Watchtower is online.
In a world where the CW's primetime lineup is filled to the brim with the superheroes of the DC Universe, one group of podcasters takes to the airwaves, get ready to journey to the worlds of The Flash, Black Lightning, Supergirl, Arrow, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow with the Just-Us WatchTower. Now here's your host, Kevin J. Kessler.
My name is Kevin J. Kessler. After 7 seasons of CW DC shows, I returned to the podcast airwaves with only one mission, to overanalyze the crap out of it. But to do that, I could not be the podcaster I once was. I had to bring in someone else. Something else. I had to bring in the Just-Us WatchTower. Folks, welcome to episode 2 of the Just-Us WatchTower, recorded on November the 7th, 2018. We are going to be going through the shows of CW's DC Universe as we do each and every week. Thank you to everyone who made last week's show such a wonderful success. We are so pleased you guys, and we have a brand new panel to bring their opinions on what's going down in the Berlantiverse, the Arrowverse, the CW-DC-niverse, whatever you want to call it. So first, from the Hangin Web show, I would like to introduce my good friend Sage Ia.
Hello, everybody.
How are you, my dear?
I am very excellent today.
I'm glad to hear that. So, Sage is one of the brains behind the show for the Hangin Web show, which is one of my all-time favorite web shows that is out there. So I'm very pleased that you're with us here today.
Thank you very much.
And Sage can also be heard on our sister show, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, where she does the Who Knew News.
You said that so well.
I know.
I can barely say that.
Well, I've heard Christian struggle with it so many times that, I've managed to get it down pat. And also, folks, another one of the co-hosts of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, also cosplayer from Song Swan Cosplay. Please welcome the incomparable Miss Jessica Womack.
Hello.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. Excited.
I'm super excited to be podcasting with you twice in 1 week and having you here in the Watchtower for the first time.
I know, it's great. It's like we get to talk all the time now.
I know, right? So we normally, the way we do this is we run through all the shows. We start with Supergirl, we move on to The Flash, then we move on to Black Lightning, then Arrow, then Legends of Tomorrow. However, as the CW network likes to do, there has been a bit of a sporadic schedule going on, and there was no Flash and there was no Black Lightning this week. So we are going to only be talking about Supergirl, Arrow, and DC Legends of Tomorrow. So all the episodes that aired in the last week. So that is Supergirl Season 4, Episode 4, Amisa. That is Arrow Season 7, Episode 4, Level 2. And DC Legends of Tomorrow Season 4, Episode 3, Dancing Queen. So if you haven't seen those episodes, spoiler alert, because we are going to be going in-depth on all of them. Now, we are going to start off in National City, as we usually like to do, with Supergirl, the journey of Kara Zor-El, the last daughter of Krypton, the Maid of Might, Supergirl. And now, Jessica, you do not watch Supergirl.
I do not, no.
Right. Do you dislike it, or you said it? You told me it was too CW for you, right?
It was, and I've heard it's gotten better, so I might give it another go. But it was a little too campy for me. I don't know. I could not get into it at first. I love Kara when they have the crossovers and everything. Love the character, but it was hard to get into for me.
Well, you know what? It's so funny that you say that it was so CW, because when it actually started, it wasn't even on the CW. It started off on CBS. It was a network show. Yeah,
and then they sold it off or something like that. But it just had that. It was a little too teenager feel for me. I don't know.
I totally get that. It's got kind of like a Riverdale vibe to it. I don't know. At its best, I feel like it's got somewhat of a Buffy vibe, and I kind of dig that. But Sage, so this is going to be a primarily you and I conversation. What did you think of Season 4, Episode 4 of Misa?
Well, there are parts of it that I very much enjoyed. She's always fun. I love some of the humor in there. She reminds me of my daughter, actually. Really spunky, all go-getting. Doesn't necessarily always want to listen.
That was a big problem this week.
Yes, very much so. Don't tell me what to do. I know, and I'm going to do it anyway.
Right, and you figure when you've got essentially the powers of a god, it might be a little irritating to have to listen to your big sister. But that's the thing that Kara has to learn how to do. And I didn't really like that. It didn't seem like she didn't really learn a lesson about that. Like, it was just kind of like Alex was like, no, obey the chain of command. And then it was just later like, I was wrong to try to make you obey the chain of command.
Yes, there was no exploration into that. However, on the opposite side was the Martian Manhunter.
Great week for John Jones.
Yes, I very much enjoyed watching him struggle. You know, which path do I choose? I really want to do this. However, you know, I said I was going to try to find peace and to steer away from violence. So it's very interesting to watch that journey. And of course, Manchester helps him very much along that path.
How great of an addition to the show was Manchester Black this week. I very much enjoyed him.
I just loved it. I was like, yes! And he was just so perfect.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Manchester Black is a DC Universe anti-hero / supervillain, so we might be seeing kind of a darker turn for him in the future, but I think they're going more the anti-hero route. You know, I liked his soccer hooliganism, background. I thought it was very well done. The Martian Manhunter storyline, I thought they were going to draw out John not, actively engaging in battle for a little bit longer. He's been what I call the Martian Manhugger now for the last couple of weeks, and I thought we were going to get a little bit longer. I really enjoyed seeing the moments of rage and those moments of doubt within Jean, where it's just kind of like, I feel like this is the route I'm supposed to take. I promised my father, blah, 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 spirituality. But my kids are being attacked, and I have to do something.
Yes, and I thought that was very interesting because in part of the episode, he's talking to Alex, and he said, it was the worst decision that I made, to leave, and now all of my people are getting hurt. And there was Alex, and she had this look on her face like, what? Mm-hmm. What? That's, essentially you're telling me I'm doing like a really crappy job. But then later on in the episode, they work that out, and she reminds him, the path that you have chosen is actually the right one.
Right.
And then he does the same thing for her, which I thought was fantastic. So I really enjoyed that storyline this week.
It's also the right path to plug up what I feel is one of the most gaping plot holes every week in Supergirl, because the Martian Manhunter has power equal to that of Superman. And so there's so many instances in this show where she's like having a difficult time, and I'm like, why doesn't John just help her?
Exactly.
Like so many things could be solved with John Jones just getting into the mud, the blood, the beer, and throwing down with her. So when they don't, like, there was an episode last season where Alex was being shot at by an assassin, and John was like on the ground pretending to be Alex, and then Alex starts engaging the assassin on the top, and John is looking at her like, oh no, Alex, and I'm like, you could fly up there and end this in 2 seconds.
Yes, I remember that episode.
Yeah, like it's insulting sometimes, but I'm glad that they're taking this route. Like I said, I thought they were going to go a little bit longer. I don't know if he fully has made the turn back to being like, okay, I'm going to throw down and start throwing hands at people, but he definitely does get into it a little bit more this week. He definitely does hit a few people. The other thing I really enjoyed this week... I'm sorry, Sage, what did you want to say about that?
That was super fun to watch. When he showed up there at the police station, I was like, yes! And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He said he wasn't going to do that, but I enjoyed watching him do it.
Right. Kara in her Darth Vader suit this week was very interesting, because when she wakes up in the suit... So now... For those of you that don't know, the Earth's atmosphere is now laced with kryptonite, and the only way for Kara Zor-El to survive is to be in this like Darth Vader-like suit. And when she wakes up in the suit and she has that moment where she just wants out of it, it reminded me a lot of the novelization of Star Wars Episode 3 when Anakin wakes up in the suit and he's just having this panic attack of being trapped in this suit.
Yes, she recovered incredibly quickly from that, though.
Yeah, which I didn't love, but I liked the Iron Man cam on her face for like the entirety of the episode.
Yes, and I also enjoyed that it was the correct color scheme for her.
Yes, yeah. Isn't it funny that Lena Luthor just happened to have this Darth Vader suit with the Supergirl logo on it, like all ready to go?
Oh, incredibly convenient.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we talked a bit about Kara not being able to take orders from Alex, and I think that was definitely the taking orders and the sense of duty was a big topic this week, because not only did we have Kara not taking orders from Alex, we had Alex ignoring a direct order for President Tron Sheridan, played by Bruce Boxleiter, who I love.
Nicely done.
When he orders, thank you. When he orders that Supergirl not leave because as Kara is expending energy, the suit gets weaker.
I am incredibly curious as to know what was, because he was actually getting really amped up there when they were having their conference call, and then somebody came and whispered in his ear, and he like turned a switch, and he was okay, and I was like, what did they just say to him?
Absolutely. I put down angry President Tron. Like that was a definite moment for me, and it makes me wonder if he's. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's probably involved with Agent Liberty, and
I don't want him to be bad.
I know the National City Republican Party. That's how it's all our villains this season. I don't want him to be bad either. So can we? We brought this up last week, but I wanted to bring it up again because consistently one of the highlights of the show for me is Brainiac 5, Brainy.
Yes. I enjoyed that. Tears, what did he say? Tears of
Tears of it started with an L. What was it? Logic.
Tears of Logic, yes.
Yeah. And I liked that, he's just like, hey, I'm not a robot. Like I'm an artificial being, but he's
feelings.
Biotech.
Yes. That was a great moment between him and Lena, I thought. And, he was like, well, oh my gosh, you guys go through this all the time. What do you do? And she's like, boxes, cardboard.
Right.
Yeah, no. And that was an interesting explanation. And I think, Tears of Logic, as it were, that's something that he hadn't quite thought of doing. So it was kind of a different approach. And so that was fun to see, that moment of connection between the two of them.
Let's talk a little bit about our friend James Jimmy Olsen and his role as the Guardian this season. That took a definite turn this week.
Yes.
So we have it set where, he's revealed that he's the Guardian. If he goes out as the Guardian again, he could be prosecuted. He goes out anyway because this horrifying plan by Agent Liberty, Mercy, and Otis to expose, to essentially have mind-controlled aliens attack kids to help their cause.
And then it turns on him. It takes a different turn.
Right, because now he is the champion of essentially racism, which is so ironic, because he was like, essentially when he decided to come out as the Guardian fully and say that he was the Guardian, it was because he wanted other African Americans to be able to look at him as a hero, as somebody they could relate to. And now he's like the poster child for human xenophobia.
Exactly. And that just goes to show you that even though that you're starting out to do this thing, it might be perceived as something incredibly different, because that is not what he was trying to portray. But that is the message that the general public seemed to get.
Agent Liberty's plan this week, it was horrifying, because now instead of just attacking government agencies, we're attacking civilians. We're trying to make it, and a lot of people are drawing the comparison, obviously, to what is going on in the world. But I think it has a very X-Men vibe going this season, like where the aliens as mutants, and I'm digging the X-Men vibe that it's got going on.
Yes, I happen to like that. I also loved one of my favorite fun moments in the episode was toward the end, and they were at the carnival, and Kara was fighting, and she's like, "No, not the pies." And then at the very end, there she is with all these beautiful pies, and I was just like, "Oh yes!" Do you remember the pie song? Pie, I like pie.
Yes. Who could forget the pie song? I like that we got a Bebo. Like, Bebo exists in this Earth, too. Like, I love the fact that Bebo is popping up everywhere. The last thing I want before we get to commercial break, they killed off Mercy and Otis.
Yes.
I was shut. That cannot be it for them. They cannot be dead. I refuse to believe that they are dead.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Mercy was, because I think that leaves Otis there perfectly to team up with Lex, because we all know he's coming. So I don't think he is, but it wouldn't surprise me if Mercy's actually gone, because that would give him some motivation.
Absolutely. Lots of death this week. We had the death of Mercy, we had the death of Otis, we had the death of Fee, which really, Manchester, these are characters that I don't know very well, Manchester, Black, and Fee, but his reaction hit me right in the feels. I was crying. By the end of his reaction to her death.
It was really heartbreaking. It was delivered so well. And I didn't want it to happen. It did not. I was like, they're not actually going to do that. And I was like, oh my God, they are. Wow.
It was an emotional home run. I was very, very happy. And then, of course, looking forward, we have to deal with this Red Sun's Russian Supergirl now, which is coming like a freight train.
I hate doppelgangers.
Yep, I hate doppelgangers too, but it looks like they're going to be doing the classic Superman Red Sun storyline where Superman crash lands in the USSR instead of America, and we're going to have to deal with that, but it's going to be Supergirl. So, There you go. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it either, but you know what? With Russia being in the news, I really shouldn't be shocked. Mark my words, by the end of this season, I think I said this last week, there will be a caravan of alien refugees that they're trying to stop from entering the Earth. But that's going to do it for Supergirl this week, folks. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our great, wonderful sponsors. Then we'll be back to talk about Arrow.
Grab some altitude and adventure together at Pound the Grape. It's all about an adventure above the crowd. There's always something different happening there, from painting to food pairings to dancing. But one thing's rock solid, people sharing incredible wines from around the world. And if that's not what puts Lift under your wing, try their craft beer. Grab some altitude and adventure at Pound the Grape. Find more at poundthegrape.com. Poundthegrape.com. Pour a glass of adventure.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop. George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo in their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher, on Amazon.com today. Ta-da!
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the Watch. I was waiting for the now here's your host. But we are back. We are talking about Arrow, Season 7, Episode 4, Level 2. Jessica, welcome back to the conversation.
Hello.
So, Jessica, Arrow is having a breakout season, I think. I've really been enjoying it. Do you agree with me on that it's a lot better than a lot of the seasons we've been dealing with up to now?
It's the seasons up to now have been a little rough, in my opinion, and redundant. So I kind of like this mystery that they've got going on, where they're not really telling us, and it's kind of a figuring it out, as opposed to there's a bad guy, how do we defeat him? Oh no, they knew our plan, which has kind of been for I want to say the past 2 or 3 seasons has kind of been what their MO has been. So yeah, I'm really excited of how it's kind of building up.
What were your thoughts on this episode? Give me your review of Level 2.
I don't know. With this one, I came out with more questions than answers, which I really liked, because that's really what gives you that I want to watch more vibe. With the psychiatrist, absolutely hated him, but loved him. I loved him as a character. It was a great plot device for it, and you're kind of like, do you have your own agenda, or are you on Diaz's payroll? Why are you really here?
Or is the psychiatrist the demon?
Yeah, so it's like so it's like, is that the person you were trying to get to this whole time? And yeah, it just really sung well. It kind of was a little... My questions, once again, more questions than answers, but it was was the device the thing that broke him, or was it the realization that broke him, or is he really broken? Is what drove me insane, though, with Oliver, is I was like, dude, play the game. You don't have to actually break. Lie to this guy. Give him what he wants, and he'll give you what you want. And that drove me insane.
Which I think maybe would happen, because I think it might be like a Ra's al Ghul kind of... Yes, I say Ra's, not Raz, because that's how you say it. I think it might be a Ra's al Ghul type thing, where he just kind of pretended to break and was really having his own plan because he's Oliver Queen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jess, that popped out to you?
I mean, the other thing is, one thing I will say is I feel like the one thing that these writers do with these is they kind of take dice, put someone's name on it, and it's who's going to go off the rails in this episode?
Yeah.
And they kind of just throw it, and it's okay, so this person's cool today, this person's cool tomorrow, all right. And so that's how I felt with Felicity, and also with, because, Laurel's got a head on her shoulders in this one, but Felicity and Dina, like, they're completely off the rails again. And I'm like, okay, so that's who we're not trusting this week. What about next week? Who's going to flip out and then the others are going to be stable again?
Right.
So that was my only, like, little bit of critique of, like, I need the build-up, but once again, there's a lot of holes, like, where's William? What's going on? You know, so...
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So out of 1 to 10, what would you give this episode of Arrow?
I'd give it a 6 because it's building, and I like it though.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I didn't dislike it, but it's not like the best episode of Arrow.
Okay, now Sage, what is your opinion on this one?
Well, one of my, because you were just speaking of William, that's actually one of my more favorite parts of this current season, and I look forward to seing those flashes of
forward.
Yes, of future William, as it were, and especially today. You know, when she got, what's his name? What's that girl's name? Nadia? Is her name Nadia? The daughter.
Zoe.
Zoe. There we go. Oh, wow. So there you are.
Zoe Canary was a big moment for me.
Yes,
I cheered on it when Zoe
love
Canary
seeing that. So, and the more of that they show, the more and more curious I get, because, you know, everybody's still trying to figure out who is the Green Arrow. If Oliver's in jail. Yeah. So I'm watching this build, and I want to see where they take it. And that actually has been the most exciting thing for me. And I know Felicity is not necessarily everybody's favorite, but I like the idea of the alternate Felicity. So
you're talking about Earth 2 Felicity.
Yes, Earth,
ruthless,
really, what
Felicity.
kind of character? I think that would be an excellent, much better character than what she is now. And so I would be very interested in seeing and hearing more glimpses of what that is like.
Right. Absolutely. Now, here's my question to both of you before I get into my thoughts on this episode. Do we think that the new Green Arrow is William from the future?
I don't know.
Jess, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I would like it because he goes to find Roy on Lian Yu, and what a great place to kind of like train yourself just like your dad.
Right.
You know,
spend a couple years on Lian Yu and you're a badass.
Yeah. So I mean, I like that idea, and but if it were him, I feel like it would almost be too obvious.
Well, here's my other thing, and this is an issue because so Oliver in jail, like putting the tally marks on the wall. I was like, hey, we just did this on the Flash last season with Barry. Obviously, they're taking it a lot longer this season with Arrow than they did with the Flash. But do we really need another the hero's kid from the future has come back in time to save everybody storyline when we're already doing that on the Flash?
Exactly. Very tiresome.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it can't be William, because I'm like, they wouldn't do the same exact story. Like when Barry and Oliver meet up, like, yeah, my kid from the future's here. My kid from the future's here.
Which they probably would do on the next crossover. They'd make a bit of it. Of like, oh, you remember that time?
Well, and you know what?
Your mother's name is Martha too? Wow.
Yeah, exactly. But, and if they are, and if it is William, are William and XS, William and Nora from the same future, do they know each other? Are they like a Justice League there?
Ooh. Did Nora bring him? How did time travel?
Did Nora bring him? That's a really good point.
That would be cool.
I was thinking like at some point we're gonna find like the Wave Rider, like all Back to the Future 3, like in some cave, and like that's how he came back. But that would be really cool if Nora brought him along for the ride. But now also, I would also like to point out how Barry goes back in time and changes something and breaks everything. If William is now coming back in time, something needs to break also. And furthermore, the Legends break time all the time, and nothing happens. Like John Diggle should have had 5, like John Jr. should have changed back to Baby Sarah 5 different times now.
True. Yeah.
So my thoughts on this episode, the first thing I want to say is, level 2, you got a high-tech cell, they're starving Oliver, the psychiatrist, but then right away we go to where Silencer is being held, and you find out Felicity's doing the same thing to Silencer. She's starving her. So Oliver and Silencer are in 2 very similar situations. The issue of the Glades appears to be an interesting thing in the flash forwards, with the Glades building a wall and keeping everyone else out, which to me sounds like more modern day stuff going on, but maybe we'll see how they do it. Like maybe it's like a China thing where they built the wall to keep all outsiders
I was thinking more Germany.
Oh, true. Could be the Berlin Wall. That's very true. So we got more Bebo in Arrow this week.
That was fun, wasn't it?
I love those little, like, flowers that they put up to bloom. It's great.
You know what? The one show that didn't have Bebo this week was Legends of Tomorrow. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I'm sure they're
unless I missed it. I was like, are they just
I
going to
didn't
Bebo?
see it. No, I didn't see it.
So here's the thing about the psychiatrist talking to Oliver. He has a very valid point.
Yeah.
Right? Like, was I the only one being like, huh? Like, first of all, finally someone brings up the fact that Robert Queen shot Hackett dead. Like, no one ever talks about that. Like, that guy's just some putty patroller that nobody cares about. We finally get, like, some, like, hey, your dad shot a dude and murdered him.
Coldly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
He had absolute valid points. And that was the thing that kind of got to me. I was like, would he be someone that is working for Diaz, or is he just legitimately doing his job and making... Because, I mean, I agree with him. Like, he has valid points, and it seemed like he was actually trying to, in his own way, help Oliver with his relationship with William. But who knows? Maybe he knows the future, and he's trying to prohibit it if William is... I don't know, because maybe if that is William... as the Green Arrow from the future, maybe he's trying to prohibit that from happening. I don't know.
And
Time travel.
Yes, and here's another situation here that I pointed is that Oliver finally looks at the situation between him and his father. He looks at it through the eyes of a father instead of a son for the first time, because he's always looked at it in terms of him to his father, and we all have hero worship for our parents to some extent, and maybe it's hard for us to see their faults sometimes. And now he's looking at it as, could I have done that to my son? And he finds out, no, I can't. And I felt the most telling point was how Oliver addressed William. Remember when Robert Queen says survive and shoots himself in the head, where Oliver said live and shot himself in the head. There's a difference between surviving and living. And Oliver took the unselfish route. Instead of being like, hey, spend the rest of your life cleaning up my mess, live your life, forget I existed. It was heartbreaking.
Yes, well, you know, and they always talk about the Green Arrow and how he's filled with such anger. And maybe some of it stems from that because of exactly what he went through with his dad, and that really bugs him and still sticks in the back of his subconscious.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So other things that I wanted to just point out while looking at this episode, we have to deal with the team all in very different situations. The problem with a show going on for 7 seasons is sometimes you run out of things for your character to do. Like, I remember I said to Dave Swan, one of our panelists last week before, I said, I don't know if there's really anything left for John Diggle to do.
That's true.
And, yeah, and, you know, they found new things for John Diggle and for the rest of the team to do, because now the team is working inside the law for the first time.
Are they really?
But they are, to an extent, they are.
They're really attempting to, at least.
Yeah, and I find that fascinating. I think that's really interesting, and I think it's a great way. And this new, darker Felicity, I'm kind of digging it, and I have not been the biggest Felicity Smoke fan in the last couple seasons. She went from my favorite character to my least favorite character like that, and I think that's just because I don't ship Olicity. I was a Laurel and Oliver fan. But anyway, and speaking of Laurel, I love Black Siren. I think she's a great addition to the cast, and I'm glad they made her a series regular. Good for Katie Cassidy to get back in there.
Yes, and her arc, because of Felicity, where they were juxtaposing each other, that was fun to watch as well this time, just to see that little flash of our original Laurel.
Yeah. Sage, what would you give this episode between 1 and 10?
I am not the biggest Arrow fan, so I would say... No, I think I'm with Jessica on this one, and I say a 6.
You know, and I'm going to go with you guys. I will cave to peer pressure, and I will also say a 6 this week. So we are going to take another quick commercial break, and then we'll be back after we hear from our sponsors with more of the Just-Us WatchTower right after these words.
In the summer of 1953, private investigator Will Lucky Marks was working as the in-house private eye for Arcane Pacific Pictures. Trapped inside the studio with the killer, Lucky must find the killer before time runs out. Lot 28. Own it today. Available iTunes and Amazon.com.
From author Sherry Rentschler comes the Evening Bower series, a prophecy from the lost city of Atlantis, a pairing whose union will change the future. Magical creatures, prophecy, destiny, and love collide in a new kind of romance. It's Sherry Rentschler's Evening Bower series, a haunting and compelling tale pulled from humanity's lost histories. Begin the adventure with Time and Blood on Amazon.com today. Forever is only the beginning.
And now, back to the Watchtower.
Welcome back to the Watchtower, everyone. We have talked Supergirl. We have talked Arrow, and this week that leaves only one show left to talk about. It is the show that is different from all the others. It is either off the rails or brilliant, depending on your opinion, and that is DC's Legends of Tomorrow. It is such a dramatic shift from the dark, gritty, grounded world of Arrow.
Yes.
Yeah, Sage, what do you think about that?
I love Legends of Tomorrow. It's my favorite. I look forward to that all the time, especially this season, because you never know what is going to happen. And this week's episode was just a joy. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Hey, give us a little review. What did you think? What were your overall thoughts about this week?
Well, it's so funny because I remember listening to you last week, and you do not like Gary at all.
Gary the Time Dweeb?
Yes,
no, I hate
Gary
him.
the Time Dweeb.
There are two characters on this show that I hate. Nate, because he's pointless, and Gary the Time Dweeb, because he's stupid. And for some reason, the last 2 weeks, we've gotten the buddy team-up of Kevin's Nightmares, which is Gary the Time Dweeb.
They did it again. Let's be time bros, right? And, and it was just, I don't know why. It's like, you have to watch. It's like, the people that you see on the road, and they're like, why are you slowing down? It's a car crash. You shouldn't be, goggling at other people's pain. And that's what we did with the two of them today in the Time Bureau and fighting their little shop of horrors plant. But Nate was almost horrified himself, watching this tiny little romance bloom in the office. And I don't know why it tickled my funny bone, but it really did. So, and also, with the Queen, that was entertaining. I'm a huge Anglophile, and just to see that up on the stage when she dropped her drawers, my mouth dropped, and I was like, oh my God, they did not just do that, but they did. So, it's just...
Maybe the best cold open ever.
Oh, God, it was wonderful. And of course, I love that they have included Constantine in the cast, as a regular now, not just, a one-off here and there. And he had some beautiful moments. You could see, I almost thought he was going to cry, and then he was like, it ain't happening. But you got to see a little bit into his backstory when he got to meet his mom, and they had their panty-dropping moment, which was incredibly entertaining to me.
Absolutely.
So, and I did
so
love...
awkward.
It was great, though, and I loved Ray, who, had to go rage, right? So totally opposite of himself, going to steal one of the Queen's corgis, and had no idea that he was getting an assist from the rest of the team. So somewhere in the back of his brain, he's like, dude, I am such a badass. How did that work? So that was so much fun.
Jessica, what were your thoughts on this week's episode?
I mean, it was highly entertaining. It was definitely... the thing with Legends of Tomorrow is they do all of the outlandish things, and they almost make fun of themselves in it. I think it was mentioned last week, and it's just brilliant, in my opinion. I think that is just, if you're going to have one that is going to be different from the others, such as, obviously this is not the same as Arrow, style-wise, I think they just do it so great, and I loved the whole... leprechaun, not a leprechaun. Is it actually a little bit, racist to just assume that he's a leprechaun because he's Irish, and I loved that little hint because Constantine, he is English, and there always has been a little bit of snootiness towards the Irish, and so it was just really fun to see that, and it was I don't know how I feel, though, about Charlie looking like Amaya.
Oh, no.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity. I really wanted the shape-shifting to continue. Like, we have a mystique here. Come on, keep it.
It feels like a way to get the actress back on as because it feels like she's a legend now, and this feels like a way for them to get the actress back on the show while still having wrapped up Amaya's story. And the thing I don't like about it is if I have to sit through another season of Nate and Amaya crap, I am going to lose it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just. I feel like it's a missed opportunity, and it does feel like they just did it to bring that actress back on, and it wasn't true to the plot, I guess, as it were.
I think they would have been better off if they just left the original actress, the shapeshifter. That would have been fun. I would have enjoyed to see that addition.
Oh,
yes.
I loved her. I absolutely loved her.
Yeah,
and she had a great. I feel like her and Ray had a good chemistry of like, it kind of pushed his edginess as much as it could, without actually changing Ray's character. So, which they have been experimenting a little bit with, is a darker side, doing a bad thing for a good reason with Ray, and I like that they've been really expanding upon that instead of making it a one-off with Nora. And they really did expand a lot more on this one without.
They've kind of made it a theme this season, and I think Z has the line where she's just like, doing a bad thing for a good reason. Like that's what we do.
Well, and even Rory liked her, which I really enjoyed because he, it's anybody.
Oh, Rory? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean
he's my favorite.
Mick's relationship with the rest of the crew is always something amazing. And I feel the show has suffered without Snart since he died in the first season. And I really thought that the new Snart was going to stick around last year. But Mick has proved that he can be without Snart, and it's still just as good.
Yes. Yeah.
I miss his pet rat. That was one of my favorite things.
So does he.
Yes, in the flashback from the very first episode, that was fun to see that come back.
Yeah. When he got to talk to his rat.
Oh my goodness. So for me, I was, first of all, I got upset right away in the beginning when I saw that Nate still existed, because I kind of hoped against hope last week that him joining the Time Bureau was a fun way to write him off the show. I think Z getting the air totem installed in a Fitbit was awesome, because now we don't have to deal with her losing her powers every time someone takes the necklace off of her.
Yes.
Constantine's line about how he knows every rubbish punk band from the UK, I loved that. I'm like, oh, that is so in character that he's like into bad punk bands.
Of course. And everybody looked so awesome, and I loved the play that they had because calling it the Dancing Queen. And anybody from our generation, I'm sure, that ABBA song goes through your brain, and then there they were bashing disco, which was a lot of fun.
And then you're watching the Queen dance to it, and it's
yes.
I also love how John has kind of integrated himself with the crew, or integrated himself in spite of the crew. Like his throwdowns with, like, Mick got in his face and he lit him on fire. Just full-blown lit Heatwave's shoe on fire, which was really kind of ironic if you think about it.
It was. And he looked.
See, and I'm not a huge fan of Mick and John's fighting. It almost got annoying for me, because it wasn't the fun banter or anything of Mick's going to threaten him and the other person just blows it off. It almost felt like children, and I almost didn't want to watch it. I was like, okay, can you guys just calm down? Like, I wished it was a bit more, I don't know, lighthearted with a dark tone, as opposed to just, we're going to just kill each other.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're both very immature characters if you think about it, and both of them have seen a lot of stuff. They see some things, man, and some stuff. So I think that kind of excuses their behavior a little bit. Like when you think about like all that Constantine has been through, damning a little girl to hell and all the stuff with his parents and whatnot, which I hope they go into more this season. I mean, they're obviously going into a lot of stuff from his past, but because that's the whole reason he's there. My favorite moment was when the first scene where they're in the punk club and like they're listening to The Smell play, and it keeps cutting back to Ray in the van listening to light rock.
Yes.
He is just so white bread, and I'm so in love. Brandon Routh has done. I've never seen somebody get his geek cred back the way Brandon Routh has.
Absolutely.
He was a geek pariah after Superman Returns, and he is now so beloved by the nerd community. And again, the existence of Ray Palmer means that we do not need Nate, because they are the same character. They're nerdy white bread, baby faces with good hair.
They do have excellent hair, don't they?
They do have excellent hair.
I feel like if Nate were more Indiana Jonesy, because he has the history thing, I feel like that would at least give him a bit more of a dynamic.
Right, but he's not. He's
not, unfortunately. Yeah.
How great was Ray calling himself Rage?
It was the best catch and that I think I've ever seen. It was beautiful.
When he spills the rice on the floor and tries to get him to do the leprechaun, you're trying to get me to do the leprechaun test, aren't you? I thought that was absolutely hysterical. And, in Buffy, that was always a joke about how, there's all these fantastical things, but every time anyone brings up leprechauns, somebody will always just go, there's no such thing as leprechauns. But when they said the guy was a leprechaun, I didn't even blink. I was just like, yeah, he's probably a leprechaun.
Yeah.
Because that's, we had a fairy godmother and a unicorn already.
Well, maybe that just means that the leprechaun is on its way at some point.
Mm-hmm. Ray stealing the Queen's corgi. I mean, I love corgis. I wanted to steal those dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And he just picks it up and runs.
Mm-hmm. The corgi with the mohawk. I love it.
It was great.
Constantine meeting his mom. That was a really, really great scene. And when Z gives him the picture at the end of him with his mother, it was such a heartwarming moment. It gave us a real good glimpse into Constantine, the depths and the layers of this character, and also watching him try to give his father a what did he call, a Brighton vasectomy or something like that by kicking him in the nards. The fact that it kept not happening was hysterical.
That was wonderful. I'm glad they did it more than once because that made it funnier.
By the way, we talk all the time about the budget constraints in some of these shows. We haven't seen Ralph Dibny really stretch at all this season on The Flash. Nate doesn't really go Citizen Steel all the time. They have money for a CGI saber-toothed tiger, but they don't have money to make Ralph Dibny stretch.
Good point.
Yeah.
I was I'm looking at that saber-toothed tiger, and I'm like, that looks expensive.
I don't know.
Well, speaking of that, I was also thinking of, one of my favorite moments with Ray, when our shapeshifter shapeshifts into him and has the suit on.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't see a whole lot of shrinking, but, and he handled that so well.
Well, and you know what I loved about that moment was that we've seen that Ray's an intelligent man, and he's learned from his mistakes. Because you remember, I think it was season 1 or 2, I think it was season 2, when the daimyo from feudal Japan steals his suit and uses it against him. Now he's got a failsafe where he's just Adam's suit disengaged, and it fell off of her.
Exactly.
I thought that was very interesting and a definite feather in Ray's cap. But one thing I want to say about Ray Palmer is his puppy love kind of gets old.
Well, that's true.
Ray falls in love with every woman he meets, and I'm starting to get a little tired of it.
Well, and he wants to, he just wants to help everybody and see the better side of them. And I do love the fact toward the end when he just kind of told on himself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've never done this and I've never done that, but oh, by the way, I kind of did that.
But I mean, in the first season, he falls in love with Hawkgirl, and then wasn't he also in love with Amaya before Nate?
Yes.
So he was in love with Amaya. He was in love with Nora Dark. He's that guy in school who develops a crush on every girl that smiles at him.
Yeah,
and it's starting to get a little old for me. Ray, the little shop plant was ridiculous. Like I said, I'm glad Ray installed the failsafe, and we talked about the Amaya thing already. How it looks like we brought her back with a new British accent, which I'm sure means we're going to have some great Nate drama to deal with in future episodes. So, guys, real quick before commercial, what would you give this for 1 out of 10?
I would give it about an 8.5.
8.5. What would you give it, Jess?
I would give it a 7. Just because it's not the best Legends episode, but it was still good.
I would give it about a 7.5. I'll split the difference between the two of you. So, folks, we are going going to take a quick commercial break, our last commercial break of the episode. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more of the Watchtower after this.
How you doing, everybody? This is KG Bethlehem. I'm an author of a new book called Certain Moments of Time. It's a collection of short stories. These short stories range from post-apocalyptic, dystopian, anti-utopia, as well as general fiction. You can find Certain Moments of Time on sale at Amazon.com, where you can purchase the ebook format as well as paperback format. You can also purchase it at Lulu.com, paperback format, and will be on sale soon at BarnesandNoble.com.
This is Cosplay Michael with the Hangin Club Show. I want to tell you about my friends at Embellis Effects in Orlando, Florida. They've got makeup, costumes, and props for all of your costume needs. And the team at Embellis Effects is helpful and friendly. Embellis Effects is one of my favorite places, and I know it will be yours too. I'll see you there. Or go to EmbellisEffects.com. And remember, cosplay is for everyone.
All right, welcome back to the Watchtower, folks. We are in the go-home period here. So I always want to take a minute at the end of the episode to talk about which show had the best episode this week and why, and also which show overall, and I'm talking about all 5, so we're including The Flash and we're including Black Lightning in this, is having the best season thus far. So let's go to Sage first. What was your favorite episode this week?
Well, that's kind of cheating. My favorite, obviously, is Legends, simply because it is my favorite. Because I enjoy the lightheartedness of it, but I also like that they weave, some things to make you think into it as well. But that one is definitely my favorite, and because I'm not actually irritated by the storyline. There's nothing in there that necessarily irritates me about where they're taking it, versus in some of the other shows. Because Arrow irritates me. I'm waiting for Diaz to be done. We've had him for a long time. We need somebody new. On Flash, I always loved the Flash. Nora drives me slightly crazy. She's a little whiny, especially, the butting heads between her and her mom, which they don't seem to want to resolve at all. And Supergirl is probably my next best favorite, because they seem to have infused it back again, and so I am enjoying that. Black Lightning has always been slightly hard for me to get into. They don't have... It's like all serious all the time.
Yes.
And they take things sometimes just a little too far on Black Lightning, so Legends is definitely my go-to and my favorite.
Okay. Jessica Womack from Song Swan Cosplay, what had the best episode this week out of the 2 that you saw, and what's having the best season thus far?
Best episode, definitely Legends of Tomorrow. Okay. I agree with Sage. Like, the lightheartedness of it, wonderful. Arrow leaving more questions than answers. It's good, but how can you beat Rage? Yes. And Corgi stealing. I mean, that's hard to beat. But thus far, season-wise, that's hard. I would be between The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, just because... Actually, I think it would be Legends, because the Flash, I feel like we've been trying to change headlines almost every other season with The Flash. And for that to be the driving force has me a little wary. But Legends is everything's new at this point with the magic, and I'm enjoying them making fun of Disney. They even had a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them joke thrown in the first episode. So
I missed that one.
Oh, it's when Constantine, he says, if there's going to be magical beasts, wouldn't they be in New York? Oh, it was the Salem.
Oh, that makes sense now.
He was talking about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because he says magical creatures, and I was like, see what you did there, Constantine.
I see what you did there, Constantine.
Yeah, so I would say Legends is doing really well this season.
It is.
Black Lightning is finding its footing for me still. I do enjoy Black Lightning, but it still needs to find... It's getting a little bit of traction, but I still don't feel like the cleats are digging into the grass yet. So I'm waiting for that. And Arrow is coming back. It's being a boomerang right now, so it's starting to build up from last season, because I wasn't a huge fan of last season. But
nobody was.
Yeah, it was just so hard to get through.
It was a chore. It was a chore at times to get through that season.
It really was.
Yes.
It was like, oh gosh, I have to watch this plot again. So Legends is doing really well for me for this season. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, so I kind of toiled over which episode I thought was the best this week. It was between Supergirl and Legends, because I really dug this week's Supergirl. I think, and you know, the Nate, Gary the Time Dweeb storyline kind of was pushing it for me with Legends, but I think I still have to give it to Legends this week. It was a great episode. I really like anything to do with Ray. I love Constantine. I think that the team itself is having a really strong season. As far as what is going, last week I had said I thought Arrow was having the best season thus far. That kind of shifted for me a little bit this week, and I think I'm more on the Legends of Tomorrow is the most entertaining show right now. Supergirl, I feel like, is having a very strong outing. It's having a good season. It feels a little disjointed to me because I'm like, okay, well, are you doing this xenophobia thing, or are you doing this red son or red daughter Russia thing? I feel like the Supergirl is very political, but also has that X-Men feel that I really enjoy. The Flash, I am loving this season of The Flash. I need a little bit more Ralph Dibny in my life. I love Nora, and I am very anti-Iris West, as I have always been. I once again, what makes Iris West capable of leading this team? What, like, that has always been my thing. Like, her entire contribution to most situations is, Barry, you got to get out of there.
That can be important.
I feel like Barry needs to be like, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, I know, but the whole "We Are the Flash" thing, I don't know. It just never sat right with me, with him and Iris, especially if you want to have like somebody on that team be the leader of the team. For me, it's Caitlin.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
Like, I would love Caitlin to be the leader of the team, but
I don't know if she has she's getting the pardon my French, the balls to do it. But I feel like she hasn't had the balls in the past to really lead, but I feel like she's getting there. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if she took over at any point in time, maybe to change things up plot-wise, which would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And now let me ask you guys this. What do you think of Sherlock Wells?
Well, I like that they have tried to find a way to bring him back in any form.
Yes, I do like that we get a new Wells every season, but yeah.
It would have been almost more fun if they would have picked the other Wells, the one that first came out.
Hair Wells.
Yes. Oh my gosh, because he entertains me tremendously, and that would be fun.
And Tom Cavanaugh can do the voice.
Yes, much better than our phony French accent. So
it's like a French Canadian accent, and I'm not digging it.
That's it. But I do like the relationship that I saw forming between him and Caitlin. That I have enjoyed.
Yeah. Now, Jessica, what do you feel about Sherlock Wells?
He's touch and go. I really like the inventiveness of being able to find another way to bring him back and having him have his intelligence that you see throughout most of the Welleses being reformatted kind of as that Sherlock Holmes-y type thing, but the laziness of it drives me insane because it's like he does the work, but he doesn't really. But I really like the relationships that he's forming, and I'm interested to see how he's going to interact a lot more with the team, because it's always fun to see how the new Wells reacts and who he gets closer to based off of what personality he's popped out of with whichever Earth he's come from this time.
And since season 1, I feel as though each Wells has kind of had a personal connection with Cisco more than any of the others, and this time we're getting a lot more of him with Ralph and a lot more of him with Caitlin.
Yes.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. I definitely think that's going to be a good, fun thing to watch. Now, you guys, I think it was Sage who said that you're not loving Nora this season. So what do you think could be improved with Nora? And question to both of you, how long before we get Run, Nora, Run?
Oh, that's a good question.
We haven't gotten that yet. It's coming like a freight train.
I believe that it is. Well, you know what? I think that she should be, not that the actress doesn't do a good job, but I think she should be younger.
Agreed.
Because, she whines like a teenager, and she complains, which you would expect from somebody much younger, and it's kind of hard. There's a little bit of unbelievability. I can't quite suspend my disbelief enough. And also there seems to be something that she's holding back, that you kind of get that feeling. And I suppose that is my biggest complaint that I have. There's too much anguish with Mom. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be there. You can always be angry at your mom, but at the end of the day, you still, she's your mom. And she just clashes way too much. It's overdone, in my opinion.
And also not thinking things through shows a lot of immaturity. Like, having to be taught to, like, take a step back and think things through, it doesn't fit with the age that she looks.
Yes.
I feel like that would work a lot better with someone who is maybe 15, 16, maybe in that 18-year-old range, but she definitely looks about their age.
Exactly.
I agree with you. However, this is also, remember, a young woman who just got these powers.
That's true.
Like,
I'm learning how to drive. I'm learning how to run.
Barry had to have that moment where
I
Oliver
don't
had to
even
tell him to case rooms before he walked into them.
Well, I don't even mean with the powers. I mean just with relationships, because even the way, I don't know, the way of not being, when she approaches, I can't remember, the number one blogger. I don't remember her name. The one from the last episode that had the best blog. And she's, like, smitten with her.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and just, like, not being able to, like, hold your head together to do what you're supposed to do. I mean, she had to have her mom walk in and, like, tell her, get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they were trying to go for, like, an endearing, like, oh, I'm quirky, I don't pay attention, I'm a little, like, lightheaded type thing, which seems to be a little bit of her personality, but some of it, the suspension of disbelief isn't there. She should be, for the age that she looks, be able to hold a conversation, even if you find someone attractive.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily just the superpowers. Sometimes it's just the way she relates to other people.
Yeah, you kind of get the feeling that she's an adult pretending to be a teenager. But if they were going to, they have the older actress, they should give her just a tad more believability.
I get that, and I think we said it last week also that it would have been better if Nora had been, like you guys are saying, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, and I adore the actress, though. She's adorable. I think she plays it well with the script she's given.
Yes.
Yeah,
she's
there's something there.
Okay. Well, folks, the Watchtower is winding up for this week, but before we do, I wanted to take a minute to thank our two panelists. Thank you guys so much. Some great discussion this week, and I will be thrilled to have both of you back at some point in the future, and definitely you guys will be hearing them again. So, Sage, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Hangin with Web show and where we could find it?
Ooh, you can find the Hangin with Web show in all kind of places. Isn't that fun? We are an interview series. We love to showcase all of our independent creators all over. You can find us on hanginwithshow.com. You can see our daily videos. We drop one a day, Monday through Friday, between 9 and 10. And like I said, you can catch those on our website. You can also catch us on Facebook at Hangin with Show, Hangin with Web Show. You can catch us on Twitter at Hangin with Show, on Instagram at Hangin with Web Show. We are on iHeart and iTunes and Spreaker, and if you just Google Hangin with Web Show, you will find us.
Awesome. And so, Jessica, how about where can people find you and your cosplay with Song Swan Cosplay?
I have an Instagram account that is under the name Song Swan Cosplay, and that's where all my cool photos are up, and it's really fun stuff.
Awesome. And folks,
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally will. And folks, for me, my first novel, Rosinanti, it's Rosinanti, is actually free in the Kindle store this week. So please check it out. Get it before November 9th, and it is 100% free. So, yep, check that out over there. You can find links to my Amazon page over at facebook.com/Kevin J. Kessler author, or follow me on Twitter at Kevin J. Kessler. And that does it for the Watchtower this week. Thank you to our all-star panel. Thank you to Greg Berlanti and the entire crew over there at the CW Network for putting on these shows that we get to talk about and overanalyze. And folks, thank you so much for joining us again this and every week. We will see you next week. Watchtower offline.